Alpha, yeah, Paul. DJ Nick Lana on the show. When you hear the trumpet or the flute, you know it's a battle. Time to put your people in a tribe. Take it to chapel. Like Mary, you are going to put it on chapel. When you are so easy on me body. How they call
the much more. And the man them day. Well, the man them in other place. Greetings, man and man, from Moran Point to Nick Grill. Great to have you with us, and of course, our ladies and other listeners all across Jamaica and over the world. This is the 26th of March, 2025. Can you imagine that? And this evening, we're going to be looking at leading from the basement. Leading from the basement. Are you an aspiring leader? Are you a leader? Are you facing struggles? Do you want to understand some fundamentals, some new principles? All of that right here. So, welcome. And this is Kevin Bailey, my co-host, Courtney Morrison in the place as well. And the mailbox is brought to you today by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited.
Are you looking for unbeatable deals? Look no further. Fosrich is having a super sale. March 19 to March 30. Visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, Draxall, and Montego Bay. Discover amazing deals on hardware items, electrical items, chandeliers, flood lamps, LED bulbs, and much more. You cannot afford to miss this deal. Come shop and save at the Fosrich Super Sale, March 19 to March 30. Only at Fosrich. Open Sundays.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Fosrich. Really appreciate your support. So greetings, big up to all the man them working with the group and the ladies them, of course. So leading from the basement or leading from the bottom up is a refreshing approach to leadership that emphasizes collaboration, empowerment, and inclusivity. It focuses on supporting and uplifting those you lead rather than dictating from the top, by creating an environment where every voice matters and team members feel valued. This style can foster innovation, trust, and shared sense of purpose. It often means listening actively, being open to feedback, and recognizing the strengths and contributions of everyone. Think of it as building a strong foundation where everyone grows together, creating a ripple effect of positive change. It's a leadership style that's especially effective in nurturing creativity and adaptability within teams. This is the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by men. It's aired every Wednesday, unless it's a holiday, at 5:30 p.m. right here on Love 101, your family station. It's the mailbox. I'm Kevin Bailey, my co-host. He's right here.
Hey, good afternoon in Jamaica. Good afternoon to all those on the World Wide Web and to those viewing us on Facebook and YouTube live. We're also live on TikTok. To all our listeners, we thank you for making it to Love 101 and making it the station of choice. We're talking about the topic leadership from the basement. That sounds low, don't it? But indeed, we're going to be hearing more and we're going to be trying to understand, and we're hoping that you will benefit tremendously from this program. So leadership from the basement is a style that emerges from challenging or unconventional circumstances, often requiring resilience and adaptability. It also refers to leaders who cultivate trust and inspire their teams from a position of humility and understanding. This is going to be interesting because most often we hear leadership leads from the top and lead from the penthouse, you know, that wonderful place. Today we're going to be hearing them leading from the basement. Kev.
Oh, really peculiar, Courtney. Our guest this evening is Reverend David Grant. He's founder and CEO of Odigia Global, a leadership and personal development organization. A good friend of ours and really a leader that we respect, has been doing some wonderful things. Let me share a little bit about Reverend David Grant as he joins us. So, Reverend David Grant, he has been a Christian for 46 years, married to Juliet for 33 years, a father of 2 sets of adult twins, grandfather of one beautiful little baby girl, founder and CEO of Odigia Global, a leadership and personal development organization, founder of Mentoring Giants and a mentorship program for young husbands and fathers. He's also the founder of the Father's Sons, mentoring young single men to become great leaders. Currently pursuing a master's degree in executive Christian leadership through Destiny College out of Florida. Author of Closing the Doors Had to Do After Being Delivered. Courtney, it's gonna be great.
Yes, Reverend David Grant. I remember those Youth for Christ days.
Yes.
St. Thomas Youth for Christ. Not true, Kev?
Really?
We still have the link. Yes, man.
Yeah.
And so we are going to be having him shortly. We're having a little bit of connectivity difficulties, but man, we want you to remember we need to hear from you. So that again, the Africans would put their hands or their fingers on their earlobe and pull it and say, we need to hear from you. We're live on Facebook and YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica. Remember, you can leave your comments via our WhatsApp line at 876-997-3125. Or you can call our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. Also, we're on TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica. You're getting ready for the program. If you haven't yet done so, if you are listening, find someone, find an ex-man, find an ex-young man, tell them mailbox is on. Ladies, look him with the elbow and tell them, say, time for listen.
Definitely. Because, Courtney, this is the program where we challenge, encourage, and empower our boys to men to become all they were created to become. Ladies, we can't do it without you know. So, you know what? This is a question for you. What does it mean to be a true leader? From your perspective as a woman, as a female, what does it mean to be a true leader? You can participate in the program by leaving us a message via WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube. And remember, females, remember, no calls or voice notes. Allow the man them. Just encourage them to do the calling and for them to leave the voice notes as well. So thank you for your support. All right, Courtney, I see.
Yes, every time I see this where we said, ladies, remember, no calls. I remember our very first program where we allowed the ladies on.
Yes.
And we had 20 calls, and 19 out of those 20 were female. And one out of the 19 said, ladies only need to stop calling so the men can't call. So from the very onset, we were doing. We want to give a big shout out to the man them all over the island, all over the globe. Yes, to say, listen, man there, and we are represented. So after 3, we're gonna shout out. I don't know if Derval want to join us in studio, and Mr. Nicky or sound technicians who are here in studio today. But we want to shout out after 3 and shout and say Monday. And those who are listening, ladies, you can shout Monday too, just look on the man next to you and say Monday. So after 3, 1, 2, 3, Monday.
Yeah, man in the place. And guess what, Courtney? I realized that you look very dapper. Just seeing you, that you look important, you look significant. And I was just wondering, what's the occasion? You know? Yeah.
Kingston College is about to rain purple all over the green, black, and gold stadium courts.
Okay.
You asked for it, sir. You got it.
No, man, thank you for sharing that. It's champs, and we want to wish all the teams the very best. I had the opportunity to share with the track team from Excelsior Sunday at Galilee, and their coach David Riley took 100 of them, over 100 of them, to be blessed and prayed for and challenged as well. I had the opportunity to share in that great service.
Awesome, Kevin.
Wishing all the team, of course, Mark Bay High School. I'm wishing them all the very best as
Yes.
my alma mater. And then because I went to Excelsior Community College and my wife went to Excelsior, then I have some kind of thing there as well. But I had two brothers that went to KC. So what am I going to do? Courtney.
You had two smarter brothers. That's good. But we definitely are wishing all the schools all the best. We pray for injuries to not be something that happens. We've been having a couple of false starts, but indeed it's all happening at the National Stadium. It is the Boys Champs, and it is the largest high school event in this hemisphere. It is awesome. Jamaica is under the microscope right now, and they're also on focus or in focus with everybody. The stadium is going to be filled with recruiting officers and overseas guests. And then next week, the following week, we're going to be having what? Grand Slam with Michael Johnson and all these other athletes. It's going to be a wonderful time. Just in time for a new track. Wow.
Hey, things are happening. And certainly on this rock, Jamaica land, we love the most beautiful place on planet Earth. And we continue to work on it. So guess what? Our brethren is on. Pastor David Grant is in the place. We just want to welcome him again to this program. There are some things here, Courtney, that talks about bottom-up leadership that our producer placed here. It says bottom-up leadership is built on a foundation of empowering others, fostering collaboration, and creating shared ownership of success. And here are some of its key principles. I'll read one and I'll allow you to take the other. The first one says here, empowerment and trust. Trust team members to take initiative and make decisions. Encourage ownership and autonomy in their roles. Can you imagine? This kind of leadership will trust the team members to take the initiative and to make certain decisions. They are encouraging ownership and autonomy. They are not there as helicopters over the heads of those, but they're giving them guidance, guardrails, etc., and direction, but they have autonomy as well.
Indeed. And active listening is something else that we need to consider and ensure that we do. Whether or not we're leaders, active listening is important, especially if you're doing counseling. Leaders focus on listening to the voices of their team members. In other words, each voice is important. Ideas, feedback, and concerns from every level are valued. Nothing is to go or to be spoken of as insignificant, but everything to be valued. Active listening.
That's right. Pastor Grant, are you here with us? Want to make sure. Are you here? Are you listening?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm there.
Welcome back to the mailbox. So, just before the break, and maybe you have to continue after the break, but does the church have the right concept of leadership, yea or nay?
You're trying to put me in a box there now, but that's fine.
What kind of box? You mean like a coffin? That kind of box? By answer.
No, a mailbox to be shipped away. But I think, though, I'm being honest, I've been a Christian for the last 40 odd years of my life. I've been in leadership for, roughly about almost the same amount of time. And I think there's too many of our churches, not necessarily all our churches, but too many of our churches have the wrong concept of leadership. And we've seen it playing out more and more today with some of these upstart churches, where I am the man or I am the woman and everybody must look to me and everybody must worship me. And, they have their entourage is carrying everything for them, and it becomes man focus as an individual focus rather than a team focus, or more really God focus, because God is into teams. God didn't make Adam alone, he made Adam and Eve.
Awesome indeed. We're on to our first break. It's 5:45 in the afternoon here at Love 101. And I'm Courtney Morrison along with Kevin Bailey. Our guest is the Reverend David Grant. We're talking about leadership from the basement. This program is The Mailbox. We come right back after these messages.
I'm a man, yes. Strong man. Integrity man.
Are you looking for unbeatable deals? Look no further. Falsridge is having a super sale. March 19 to March 30. Visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, Drexel, and Montego Bay. Discover amazing deals on hardware items, electrical items, chandeliers, flood lamps, LED bulbs, and much more. You cannot afford to miss this deal. Come shop and save at the Falsridge Super Sale. March 19 to March 30. Only at Falsridge. Open Sundays.
Life is on the go. You got this Brunswick boneless strawberry matching 80s to prepare. Healthy, tasty, have it anytime, anywhere. Fuel your body day and night with the taste of the seaside. No challenge you can fight with Brunswick boneless sardines by your side.
Life doesn't slow down, and neither do you. Brunswick boneless sardines are packed with omega-3 and ready to eat right out of the can. Try them on its own or on a can. Brunswick boneless sardines.
Every citizen deserves respect and dignity. But remember, with rights come responsibilities. Let's uplift and respect each other and stand against injustice. Together, we can make Jamaica a better place for ourselves and future generations. Know your rights. Embrace your responsibilities. This message was brought to you by the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes. Strong man. Integrity man. I am a man.
To the program, The Mailbox. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison. My co-host is Kevin Bailey, and our special guest is Reverend David Grant. We just want to remind you, The Mailbox is brought to you today by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Falsridge Company. We're in the segment that we deem the Inbox, and this is a segment where we dive into the questions for the show. And indeed, Kevin is going to tell us a bit more about our guests and begin the questions. Kev.
Sure, Courtney. It's our privilege, honor to have friend and Pastor Reverend David Grant, founder and CEO of Adigia Global, a leadership and personal development organization. Of course, David has had a long journey, 46 years in the trenches, and his grandfather and father and husband and whole things. No, David, tell us who or what has influenced you to this point in your life where you're focusing on leadership and specifically leadership from the basement. What are some of the influences, people, place, things, just a little synopsis of your early journey.
Well, I have been blessed, to be raised by one of the greatest evangelists Jamaica has ever seen. I would attempt to say the world has ever seen, evangelist, Reverend Dr. V.T. Williams, the late Apostle V.T. Williams. And growing up with him, and as I grew up, in the church, I learned a lot from him in terms of leadership. One of the things he said to me that up to this very day, some of the members of the church marvel how I do it. He says to me, David, you can't lead people and not connect with them. So I had this thing where I was sending out birthday greetings, and I could describe the members of the church, tell them, talk about where they sit and all that, and it meant so much to them. So if you're going to be leading people, you have to be in touch with the people. There are other persons who have impacted me, but I would say in terms of circumstances and stuff, I started leading from I was like 16 years old.
Wow.
16 years, both in terms of church and in the secular world, as we consider the secular world. But what hit me was when it's the church leadership. What I found over the years for a number of our churches in Jamaica, we have persons who are appointed to leadership, but have no clue as to what leadership is. The church leaders like them, probably have enough money or something, because let us be real, a lot of our leaders in our churches are not qualified for the positions that they are in. They don't have a heart for the people. They're not compassionate, and it now becomes about them. Yes, leadership might, the leaders might have seen some level of glimpses of leadership in them, but they needed now to coach them and to train them to become a real leader. So we have now a lot of persons in leadership who have become arrogant and proud. They can't speak to them because I am the one. And leadership really and truly is about people, about serving people, about touching lives, and empowering and improving lives. So for me, growing up in the church, out in terms of secular society, a couple of the men in my neighborhood was really there. I learned a lot from playing cricket with them, and was watching how they managed the team or how they led the teams. Really meant a lot to me.
Rev Grant, I hear your interesting perspective. I don't know, after hearing, if you want to give us a basic definition of either leader or leadership. I hear you speaking of some characteristics that a good leader should have, because I was involved in a course by Dr. Al Hollingsworth, which shows that 3% are real leaders, 13% are what they call destroyers, who are leaders who lead in the wrong way, and 87% are followers. Describe or define for me leadership in your own words. What is it?
The best way I can do it. Leadership is there's so many thoughts going through my head right now. But being a leader is one who, first of all, is authentic. You're genuine about what you're doing. You must have the heart for people and be willing to serve. Because leadership is not just about you achieving your goals, but it's about helping others to achieve their goals. One of the things I've come to appreciate is that, as human beings, we can really be hard at times, but the more you invest in people, is the more the same people will invest in you. So if you invest in 500 persons per se, at least, let's say roughly 200 of them will invest in you. That's 200 investment that you would not have had if you weren't investing in people. So for me, leadership is a place of humility. It's a place of service. It's a place of helping others to get to their, I would put it this way, divine end.
No. That's quite a lot to unpack there, and I'm sure we have to look at it, because I'm hearing humility, authenticity, heart. I'm hearing service. There are so many things you have said. Tell us, Reverend Grant, how does a leader, for instance, would know that he or she is effective? Are there certain outcomes? Are there certain evidence, like, say, for instance, in a church, how would you know that you are being effective as a leader?
All right, I wrote this down about a day or so ago. It says, being a leader is, and you're effective, really, is when you have that kind of impact on persons that others will see. Not just the person themselves, but others will see, and they can say, wow, I see changes in you, and they can relate that change to having that contact with the leader.
Oh,
yeah, you got what I was saying.
Got that. Quite clearly. We hear about leadership, and we're talking specifically about leadership from the basement. And I really want us to touch that before we get into another break in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, man.
Discipleship, leadership, and leadership from the basement. What is that?
Yes. What I was just doing some work in my sister's basement, and the whole thought hit me of how, as leaders, we have been cultured and taught that leadership is the top. You are the top man. You are the big boss. And when I look, leadership actually sets the tone. It sets the culture. It's the foundation. Any organization, the culture of any organization or tone of that organization is set by the leader. So it is upon that premise that I'm saying that leadership is from the basement, from the bottom up. You know, and in that video that I see circulating, I was sharing that, you know, when you look, for instance, at the piping system, the cooling system, all of that is in the basement. Well, here where I'm living now, you know, it's in the basement, but it sets the tone of the rest of the house, sets the culture for the rest of the house. We have become top heavy because everybody now wants to be the person at the top, the one who is recognized. But leadership is not really about being recognized as an individual, but it's being recognized for the value of what happens. Look at Jesus Christ, for instance, right? Jesus could have come as king, you know, in terms of, you know, a natural king.
Yeah.
So he chose to come from a place of humility, you know, being born basically in a stable. And the men that he chose as well, when you look at them, you know, some of them would have been considered, I mean, the bottom. But guess what? These were the men after Jesus Christ invested in them, turned the world upside down. How would I say right side up?
Right side
to the point now that you, Kevin, Courtney, and myself, and billions of persons across the world kept speaking of Jesus Christ and about his goodness to us.
Yeah.
You know, I call that 12 the dirty dozen. And my father used to watch and my father used to watch all these war movies, Guns of Navarone and OK Corral and all these John Wayne things. But it's interesting that this concept, I know it has been around for a bit because the Reverend Al Miller, it's a concept that he taught us at Fellowship Tabernacle. How do we begin to change the narrative? As you mentioned, we see persons carrying persons on, you know, I'm not sure what to describe them as, but lifting them up on their shoulders and stuff. What is intrinsically wrong with that? Should that not happen? Is that a sign of a bad leader? What do we do to change the narrative if that which is being presented to us now is not what is leadership from the basement of humility?
You see, humility is the hallmark. Humility. As human beings, we all like to be praised. Let us not deny that. We all love that pat on the shoulder. But when we get that pat on the shoulder, we must be always willing to recognize those who have helped us to be recognized to get that pat on the shoulder. Right? And as leaders as well, we must be willing not to take glory for ourselves. The glory belongs to God. In the Christian circles, I mean, anywhere, the glory actually belongs to God. And we must be cognizant of that fact and be able to pull back and say, I appreciate what you're doing, but I think you are going overboard with this. Because there is a place of honor. There is a place to honor our leaders, you know? But then we cross the line in worshiping some of our leaders. And I believe it's the leader's responsibility to say to the followers, or those who are leading, say, hey, you are crossing the line. You know, be careful, because when we begin to accept that which is God's glory, we are running ourselves into dangerous waters. Because God is a jealous God.
He shares glory with none other.
None other.
And I believe as well with you, Reverend God, because we're up on a break again, is that when it becomes idol, it becomes idol worship when we worship our leaders or elevate them to such a point that we see them and anything they say, we may accept. I saw a video recently of a pastor who was saying to the congregation, she's my daughter, and I don't believe that she should go into marriage without knowing whether or not the man can do what he's supposed to do in terms of, you know, intimacy, in terms of sexual intercourse. And we're going to get right back to that, because those type of leaders can lead persons astray. It's now 6 p.m. in the evening here at Love 101. We're up on a second break. I'm Pastor Courtney Morris along with Kevin Bailey. Our guest is the Reverend David Grant. We're talking about leadership from the basement. The program is The Mailbox. Soon come back.
Integrity man, I am a man. Hey man, I am a man.
Are you looking for unbeatable deals? Look no further. Foxridge is having a super sale. March 19 to March 30. Visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, Drexel, and Montego Bay. Discover amazing deals on hardware items, electrical items, chandeliers, flood lamps, LED bulbs, and much more. You cannot afford to miss this deal. Come shop and save at the Foxridge Super Sale. March 19 to March 30. Only at Foxridge. Open Sundays.
Are you interested in what happens in the world of sports? Do you want to hear from athletes and coaches as they talk about their perspectives? Join me, Kathia, right here on the family station Love 101 FM for Sports Talk every Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. That's Sports Talk 1 to 2 p.m. right here on the family station Love 101.
I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man.
Welcome back. This is the Mailbox here every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. on your favorite station, Love 101 FM. Courtney Morrison, Kevin Bailey in the place, and our very special guest, Reverend David Grant, founder and CEO of Odigia Global, a leadership and personal development organization. We have a voice note from the studio, so I want us to take the voice note and get your perspective. Voice note from Brother Arnold. So if we listen this, David, you could give us your perspective if you want to on this voice note.
Good afternoon, my brethren. Monday about what you know. We know no man plant this afternoon, and even if we have any man plant, we have to go turn them in a real man. Kevin Daly. Yes, we have to go turn them in a real man. So may I listen to you one. Yes. You hear me on the next bulletin.
That's Brother Arnold. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Kevin, you were just before we went for the break. We're talking about some of the dangers that we may see in some of our male leadership, especially in churches, the arrogance that can lead an entire congregation astray. How, Reverend David Grant, how do our congregation, how do others recognize that the leadership that is being given is not one from the basement of humility, of authenticity, of integrity? How can the congregation and others recognize that it is authentic?
All right. Authenticity for me speaks of being genuine, being yourself. You know, not having to put on a persona when you get to church, but you must be the same way wherever you are, right? I mean, I can speak of you too, because I've seen you, men, in different circles, and you are yourself. You're not coming to the rostrum with an accent, no, because you're going to speak. You speak the same way, as if. But also, when we find that the leader wants everything to be done for them, it becomes mainly about them and their families, and not about the congregation. Because we are called to shepherd the flock of God, to feed the sheep. Peter says, over which God has made you overseer. But too many of us are eating the sheep.
Wow.
I heard of one situation where a pastor looked at a member in his congregation and said, "You don't see a pastor vehicle need 4 tires."
Wow.
Huh? I mean, if you have to be saying that, then it says a lot about you. It says a lot about and about your leadership. As I said earlier, if you serve the people will serve you. It should not be that the congregation is being demanded. Like some churches, like even where I'm at now, here in the States, I'm hearing it happening, where they're going to have pastor appreciation, and their pastors are telling you how much each member must give. You're going to give X amount to pastor and X amount, and the pastor needs a new BMW or a new Rolls Royce, and there are persons in the congregation that don't have dinner. Huh? No, man, that's not Christ-like. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not Christ.
Oh, tell us, David, Reverend Grant, Trump Bridget,
Of course.
Hey, the question is, if you're leading from the basement, some persons may struggle with the imagery because it appears that you're weak. It appears
Mhm.
that you can't administer discipline if a member go out of line and go against the scripture. How do you balance what we're hearing, just the term there, and a thing like even following through on discipline? If things are going awry and people out of line with the scriptures, can this leadership administer guidance in this area?
I believe more so than the other style of leadership. Why? Let's look back at Jesus. Jesus was there with them. He was at Peter's mother-in-law's house. He was there at their funerals. He was there at their weddings. I mean, he was all over the place with them. They heard Jesus snoring, you know, when he went out to sleep. They were in touch, Jesus was in touch with them. But yet, when Peter opened his mouth and said, "Hey, Jesus, I mean, you can't die like this. You won't die like this." Jesus Christ rebuked him and says, "No, Peter, you know what you're saying is not of God. That's of Satan." When you know people and you are in touch with people, you have greater access into the true them. And they will give you that access because you know them. You know, I do premarital counseling. My wife and I, we do premarital counseling. One of the first things I ask, does your pastor know that you are coming to us?
Hey. Yep.
I believe in pastoral coverage. I believe in pastoral guidance. Because when trouble comes, but when trouble comes, you must be able to sit with your pastor together who knows you more than I do. To say, "Hey, we're having this kind of issue, Pastor. Can we talk about it?" So we have this notion that if you get close to the people are going to disrespect you. The people will only disrespect you if you behave in a manner among them that leave that space or that door open for them to disrespect you.
Jamaicans say familiarity breeds contempt.
Yes.
But Jesus
And
walked
again,
with the
so
people,
Courtney,
no? Yeah.
Yeah, I just said that, Courtney. There's a mindset that we have,
Mhm.
you know, and I understand, I can relate to it, and I do appreciate it to some measure, that once persons see you on the same level as them, or even a notch below them, they tend to want to disrespect you.
Yeah.
They just want once you're just one notch above them, you know, in their minds. Oh, yeah, man, good man, that man. Yeah, man, the best thing, that man. But they don't know you.
Yeah.
You were saying, sir.
We want to touch some of the characteristics of this leadership from basement. You know, we see quite a number: empowerment and trust, active listening, collaboration over command, recognition of strengths. Recognition of strengths. I want you to touch that one. Identify and celebrate the unique skills, talents, and contribution of individuals. Build on these strengths to drive growth. That for me, if you can, speaks to building up those who are around you. Not true?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You see, we can't take the journey alone.
Mhm.
Can't take the journey. The saying says what? If you want to go fast, go alone.
Yes.
But if you want to go far, go together.
Yes.
Yep.
And sorry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and so here it is that when you can identify the strengths in people and applaud them,
Yes.
recognize it, acknowledge it, let them know that you see it, and also create a space for them to utilize that strength. Oh my God, you would have placed them in an hemisphere that, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
But what we tend to do, and I don't know if it's just a cultural thing, a black people thing, or what, but we tend to want to beat down on people as soon as we see them doing something about never take the time to praise them.
Crab in a barrel.
Yes. Yeah, man.
Mentally.
And it's hurting the church.
Yes.
It's hurting the church.
I guess an extension, and probably you could share your view on that, Reverend Grant. If a leader is insecure, if a leader is unsure of him or herself, and sees other persons coming up with amazing talents, gifts, and abilities and expertise that can really create some change, they may fear that that person will usurp them, and
Yes.
they are no longer seen in that light. I mean, how do they deal with that if that is happening?
I think one of the first things they need to do is to find out if they are in their rightful place. Are you called to what you are doing? Because you see, when you are called and you recognize that this is what I am called to, you are so confident. You know, but when you are an imposter, you know, you are. Or let's put it this way: at a lot of our churches in Jamaica, and I mean, I know people going to stone me now, but fine, I can take the stoning. I'm distance away.
You're David. You're not Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. But a lot of our churches are pastored by preachers.
Yes.
Guys who can preach, and you know the concept of preaching in Jamaica.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have somebody you know,
They're suffering from an
and
asthmatic
Jamaicans
attack.
will like that, and the churches are now. These are now persons appointed to pastor and to lead the churches, but they don't have certain administrative skills. They don't have leadership skills, you know, and they become insecure because they are not called to the pastorate. You see, a pastor, one who is genuinely a pastor, will look out for the congregation and the development of the individuals in the congregation. A pastor or a leader of a church should be able to identify the giftings in their congregation.
Yes, sir.
And help to nurture that, help them to mature, invest in them, send them to workshops, conferences, seminars. You know, when I was in Jamaica pastoring the church, right? I brought my leadership team over to TLC. They were having a leadership conference, and up to now, some of them still talk about it.
Yes.
I'm pastoring in Morant Bay, St. Thomas.
Yeah.
And this guy came, business bishop Wayne Malcolm, he came to the church and he preached. And then he had a conference down in Montego Bay. We grouped up a bunch of them and we went to the conference.
Awesome.
Because I must see to it that they are fed, that they become better people, and not just spiritually, but holistically.
Yes.
Oh no, that's a big one. You touch holistically, and I wonder if that has to dovetail into transparency and openness. And I'm asking for this because here it says it fosters an environment of open communication where information flows freely across levels, and this encourages trust and unity. Why is this important when some people feel that their position is one where them have some secret, because I saw them have the power, them in a little grouping. Talk to us about that and why this thing here is so important. Transparency and openness.
If you come back again to the insecurity of being in a position that you weren't rightly fitted for, so you end up being insecure. And because you are insecure, you are not willing to share yourself. You're not willing to and when persons speak to you about some things, you become offended. I led a team, and on that team, I made sure that there were persons on that team who would look me in the face, even in a team meeting, and says, "Sorry, Pastor, but you're wrong."
Yes.
You're serious, David? No, Pastor David, are you serious?
Yes.
No, could you repeat that? I'm not hearing it clearly.
No, I'm just asking, are you really serious that you gave permission that you, the pastor, person can look at you and give you the feedback, and when you're wrong, to say you're wrong?
Yes. Yeah, the Bible says rebuke at an elder, but entreat him.
Yes.
Wow.
So I tell them, because even my children will tell you when I'm wrong. You know, I said to them, listen, guys, this is my position. The same heaven I'm preaching you into is the same heaven I want to go. So if you see me going wrong, you have the right as a brother, as a sister of mine to say, hey, Pastor, I mean, last Sunday you preached something and I heard you said something and I think it was inappropriate.
Right.
You know, and I go back and I check myself. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I apologize as well.
That's humility. We're up on our final break at 6:15. We're talking to Reverend David Grant. We're talking about leadership from the basement. Indeed, it talks about humility if my people were called by my name, should firstly humble themselves. I'm Courtney Morrison, along with Kevin Bailey. It is the mailbox. We'll soon come back.
Yes.
Are you looking for unbeatable deals? Look no further. Phosphorus is having a super sale. March 19 to March 30. Visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, Drexel, and Montego Bay. Discover amazing deals on hardware items, electrical items, chandeliers, flood lamps, LED bulbs, and much more. You cannot afford to miss this deal. Come shop and save at the Phosphorus Super Sale. March 19 to March 30. Only at Phosphorus. Open Sundays.
Maxfield Easter Bun, the juicy fruity Easter Bun. Order online and send abroad at maxfieldbakery.com or call Maxfield Bakery at 926-2160 or 929-3897 and get yours before they're done. Scatter says so. I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man.
Back to the program, the mailbox. We're talking about leadership from the basement. And we're talking to Reverend David Grant. And my co-host is here with me as well. Kevin Bailey before we went for the break, he was saying he allows those who are around him to be able to tell him that he is wrong. We're talking about transparency and openness, and indeed, it would accommodate being vulnerable before others. David, I think many persons do not understand the shepherd role. That even when a sheep becomes ill, that it is the shepherd's business to restore and help and ensure that the other sheep doesn't beat that sheep to death. And that was part of the purpose of the rod and the staff, to be put around the sheep while the shepherd sits at another end. But we're not seeing that in our church. We're seeing pastors who help to read out of church. When we're talking about discipline, Jesus's discipline, even of Peter going astray, was to even pray and say, hey, your faith is going to fail, but I pray that it be restored. You know, Satan seeks to sift you it's always about protecting the sheep. And so when we talk about continuous development and leading by example, it has to be from a position, as Jesus says, I did not come to be served, but I come to serve. Talk to us a bit more about that as we draw closer to the end in our last segment here. Tell us more about this.
All right. Just before we go to that, I want to say something before the break, which was simply this.
Yes.
That I remember one of the first church board meetings I had. The deacon who was on the board, I threw out an idea and said, let me hear your responses. Tell me what you think about this. And he said to me, no, man, Pastor, anything you say, man, anything you say, we don't mind. Are you the man, Pastor? Are you the man? Anything you say. So I said, all right, then tell you what. Next week, Sunday, we're going to all jump off our cliff. What do you say? I said, Pastor, you know something? I said, no, what I'm saying to you is that your opinion is valuable. Your opinion might just be that little thing that we need, to tweak the whole thing, work excellently. You are not here just to carry out my demands. No, we're here as a team to work together to get the job done. Be that. So that is that. On the point of the whole matter, you mentioned the issue of discipline and all of that.
Yeah.
I can speak from my experiences. How we deal with discipline in the church, we have to be very careful. I will tell persons when I was a part, or still a part of, but not there presently, my organization, I would have held a trophy for suspension,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. So I was always the one who would give the trouble and, talk up in the members' meeting and stuff. So I'd get the suspensions. But what it did for me, it really helped me to become a better person, that I can speak the way I'm speaking now.
Mm-hmm.
Pastoring one of the churches, when I was out there, a young lady came to me and said she was pregnant. She telling me that you Pastor, you're the first person I'm saying, why are you telling me this? I'm not responsible. Why are you telling me first? Though? You don't tell the guy, you don't tell the mother, why are you telling me? That's the kind of personality I am. All right, other person don't appreciate that too, but hey. And
No.
I said to her, let me explain to you that you would have sinned, and I believe you would have repented of that sin, right? And let me say to you as well, being pregnant is not a sin, but it's the act of fornication that is the sin. So if you have repented of that sin, I can't hold it against you. And furthermore, I didn't have a right to hold it against you any at all. But you have spoken to your God, you have made it right with your God. But now there's a thing called church discipline that we must enforce. So I said, I will now have to tell the congregation. I said, Pastor, you really got to tell the church? I said, come on, sis. You know it's better for me to tell the church than for the church to find out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the church find on them own, it's going to be a whole lot of sus and gossip. And one Friday night, the Lord said to me, no, I mean, I felt led to tell the church, so the all-night prayer, I told the church, and said, we're going to be praying for her and stuff. And the Lord said to me the Sunday morning, she's in the church, and he says, call her out, bring her to the front, and pray for her publicly.
Yes.
I said, what, God? He says, yes. Worship was going, and I called her out. She came to the front. I embraced her. My wife went on the other side, and both of us embraced her. We told the church the situation and said, listen, we're not kicking her out. We're not putting her at no back bench. If anything, she's going to be on the front bench, but she will not be taking part in certain activities.
Yes.
Right? So we prayed with her. We prayed over her, the baby in the womb, and we released her. I heard that some months after, she was testifying on it and said, if we did not handle the situation that way, she knew she would have left the church. She would not have been a member of the church anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Pastor David.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're sitting on the foyer one evening, and one of the sisters saw her come and said, wait, Pastor, a pregnancy is a son of pregnancy. I said, oh, yeah, man, you never know. Wait, you never come to church Sunday and say you wouldn't know, but yeah, man, she's pregnant, man.
Yes.
And we're going to love her. We're going to pour into her.
Amen.
Yeah, because I had to kill that.
Yes.
It was that spirit of gossip and criticism that was rising up. And I said, no, man, we know, man. Everybody else know. Forget you come to church on Sunday daytime saying, no. I was being bad and throw that in there.
Yes.
Oh,
but Pastor Grant, I don't think many persons recognize the responsibility. Sometimes, even as pastors, as you lead, and that sort of humility that you just spoke of, sometimes we try to protect an image as opposed to restore individuals, and we have to be careful as to how we do it. And I'm speaking because, I'm coming just like you and tying them things up. How do we encourage, though, our men overwhelmed by the pressures of society, our men who seem to believe that having power is how one lead? How do we change the narrative to help persons to understand that leadership is with integrity, humility, authenticity, being open, and being able to empower others? How do we do that?
First, for me, I believe that we have to go back. And I say go back to mentoring and discipling.
Yes.
I don't think many of our churches are discipling. We're creating converts.
Yes.
But we're not discipling. We're not and I speak of a great number of churches in Jamaica. They're not taking the time to have those one-on-one and those small groups, to impact the men. Because if you look at how women are emotional, right? I mean, men are emotional too, because I know as of tomorrow, today, Mr. Courtney start. We can guarantee him in purple and white, right? No, we're not seeing him, but we're in purple and white.
No,
and I'm going to jump on real and carry on a champs, right? Why? Because they're emotional. They're emotional.
Of course.
Men. What's that?
No, man, say of course.
Yeah, man. Men more like to meet and talk.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I believe why the Rastafarian movement took the level of ground it took when it started in Jamaica. Because man and man just sit up on the corner and talk.
Yeah.
Reason. But in most of our churches, we appeal to the emotions. And many men not in that. So we have to pull the men aside, outside of them kind of space, and say, all right, listen, this is it. And be genuine, be real.
Yeah.
Listen, I bought my toe, I bust my forehead, you know,
Yeah.
I break my ribs. But this is what happened. And go back to the Jesus model. Look at Jesus. Jesus took 12 men. 12 men. And today, almost every nation on the earth have at least one Christian on it, man. Come on. Being genuine, you know, being humble, being authentic, being responsible to recognize that these persons I lead, I am going to have to give an account before God on the day of judgment. How am I leading? Am I just leading to satisfy myself? Am I just leading to make me feel good and make me look great? Or am I leading these men in particular to become good husbands, good fathers, good business leaders? You know, I come back into the whole holistic approach.
Yes.
No, we're pushing for the men to cry and to drop and to roll and to do all of that. But for the most part, I'm not really a man thing that.
No. And I suspect if you could say a few words on continuous development, kind of final comment and wrapping up here. Yeah, because you say holistic, you know, teaching men to earn and other areas. Why is that important? Why is that so important for men?
Because we're the leaders. We are the leaders. God made man to lead. And if you don't have the resources to do what needs to be done, you're going to be seen as a failure. Many marriages break up because of that. And you can't provide for them, women and stay with them, you know. So we have to help men to appreciate life on a whole. You are not just a sperm donor. You're not just, you know, the guy who will stand up on the corner and everybody hear you. No, you are called, you are created by God to have positive impact. I say you this, another person don't know this about me, but I left high school without one subject to my name.
Oh.
Not one CXC, GCE, and not even KFC. Nothing. It wasn't until I was 42 years old that I did CXC for the first time.
42.
Yes. Right? I'm now doing a master's degree. Right? Because I realized that when my kids started coming home from school and I couldn't help them with certain homework, you know, I went back to school. I found out a church near me. I can call the name Gregor Park Baptist Church.
Yes.
You know, doing a wonderful job.
Reverend Carl Henlin.
Yeah, man. A rubber like old man. Let me just put that in there for you to sir. Let's move on.
Oh, God.
That's it.
Yeah, man. You do a tremendous job. And I went back there. I did subjects. And what I did as well, after I went back and gave a year of free service. Because it's a free school. I went back and did a year of service to impact the youth in my community.
Yes.
So first of all, them see me there as an old man with them, you know, and then get what I need to get, and I go back and I invest.
Yes.
We have to have your final comments for 30 seconds. We're close.
All right. So let me just say this to everybody listening, that leadership forms the foundation. It sets the tone. It sets the culture. If leadership is faulty, then there'll be cracks in the building. Up the top, at the 11th floor, the 12th floor, you will see cracks if leadership is faulty. So it behooves us, and I speak especially to the men. It behooves us that we get it together, get it right. You know, educate ourselves, empower ourselves, invest in ourselves and others, so the leadership base can be broader and even deeper, so we can build higher and wider.
Blessings. Thank you very much, Reverend David Grant. We are at the end of our program. So we are saying thanks to Dr. Nadine Blair, Operations Programs Manager, Jermaine Johnson, to you, our special guests. Boy, I'm going to talk to Joel about you. Reverend David Grant, founder and CEO of Odigia Global, a leadership and personal development organization. We end the show with this quote: great leaders find ways to connect with their people and help them fulfill their potential. Stephen J. Stowell says that.
Yes, and we got support from Angus, so we want to give thanks for that. Thanks again, David. Say hi to Juliet. That's it for our show this week. Catch you next week, Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025. Same place, same time, inside the mailbox. The mailbox was brought to you today by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fostrich Company Limited.
And thanks to Derval Graham in studio and Niku, our new engineer. Have a great week. Monday.
Yes, strong man, integrity man. I am a man, I am a man, yes.
The Wesleyan Holiness Church in Jamaica presents